let's talk a bit about the certificate part, right? Because clearly everything relied on the certificate, being trustworthy. Because the certificate is not trustworthy, then you can get the public key of the attacker. And that's been a huge problem in web security, the trustworthiness of certificates. Because, right, you rely on multiple things. You either rely on the certificate authority to be trusted and not issue a certificate to someone who is not who they claim to be. So, for example, give the attacker certificate for Amazon.com. Or it could be that the CA is being tricked, is honest, but is being tricked into giving an incorrect certificate. And both of those things have happened a lot. So first, let's understand why this end-to-end property is very important. Then we'll see what kind of problem showed up with certificates. So assuming the certificate is trustworthy and the public is correct, we can really get a sense of why this end-to-end property that TLS provides is so powerful, that it takes care of a lot of middle point attackers. So for example, consider that you have an attacker that is trying to sniff your Wi-Fi session. Well, it's encrypted with TLS. They won't be able to see what's on your Wi-Fi session. Okay, let's assume that the attacker poisons your DNS. Okay, so then you end up, the browser goes to the wrong IP address. Well, that wrong IP address won't be able to have the secret key that matches the public key in the certificate. Okay, so they won't be able to, they don't actually own the secret key corresponding to the certificate. So the certificate part will catch that. Okay, what if the attacker manages to inject new traffic by hijacking our connection? Well, again, there's integrity checks with the MACs that TLS will protect you against. Okay, what if the attacker manages to change the routing so that we go to the wrong server? Again, that wrong server they don't have the secret key material for the certificate for Amazon.com. So they won't even be able to decrypt that, if you do with RSA, they won't be able to decrypt the secret information, the PS, or if you do it with Hellman, they won't be able to sign with that key. Okay, so TLS protected us against all of these attackers. And in general, any man in the middle is protected against. As long as you trust that certificate and it's correct, protects you against any sort of man in the middle, no matter what level they attack you at. That's why this end-to-end abstraction is so powerful. But of course, all of this relies on these certificates being trustworthy, and there's just many problems with them. One is a usability concern. Sometimes your browser can't check the certificate. Maybe the CA is untrusted, maybe the certificate doesn't check. And then it gives the user this message. And the user usually just going to accept the message, which really causes problem. It will proceed without authentication. Anyways, it violates all the end-to-end security properties. Yeah. So what are some problems that TLS doesn't take care of is obviously things like denial of service, right? Like SIM flooding or reset injection that David talked about. Those are not going to be prevented by TLS. Or if you have bugs on the server side and you attack the server, then basically the TLS endpoint ends at the server. So if the server is doing bad things, well, TLS will protect you against that. Yeah, so basically when you surf with Amazon regularly, it's HTTP, so no encryption. And so there's no integrity, and the middle attacker can alter pages. But then the moment you log into your account and you start sending private information, that's when Amazon would like to change you to HTTPS. However, there's a problem that, if you started with HTTP, it's possible, and there's an attacker in the middle, it's possible they give you a completely different page that doesn't even, go to Amazon. So then it won't switch to HTTPS. So you'll stay within HTTP. So that's why it's very important for you guys, whenever you exchange private information, to check that there's the green lock in the URL bar. Okay, if there isn't that green lock in the URL bar and you're accessing account information, then that's very weird. That's very, very weird. Okay, whenever you access account information, you should at least minimally have the green lock in the bar, which suggests that there's HTTPS going on, and there was a certificate checked for that server, and the connection is encrypted. And this is, by the way, called SSL strip attack, in that you didn't even have the chance to get to HTTPS and to go to TLS, because the attacker in the middle served you different content that doesn't even change to HTTPS. Yeah, and there's all kinds of issues of trust, as I mentioned, with certificates. One is that, you know, when users receive warnings like this, they just click through them, right? They just click through them, and that's a problem because, you know, the connection won't be encrypted instead of debugging what's happening. And another problem is that, well, these are some, you can read some quotes, but basically the other problem is that there's been many cases where CAs have been compromised. So this is cases where, you know, they were compromised for political reasons. Iranian hackers took over, you know, Komodo CA, or there are cases when people issued fraudulent Google certificates, either on purpose or by mistake. DigiNotar, there's just so many of these examples of CAs being compromised or CAs issuing bad certificates. So, and this has been actually a problem for the past 20 years, that, you know, we still trust certificates because that was the best thing we had, and they still work in many cases, but they don't work in also many other cases. But we still use them because we didn't, you know, they did prevent the easy attack, or a large class of attackers, but still they were far from what we wanted them to be. And for 20 years, people tried very hard to find solutions, but they couldn't really. And until really all this blockchain movement came to be. And in the miscellaneous topics, I'll tell you about something called certificate transparency that finally solves the problem. Anyways, so in conclusion, use TLS to secure end-to-end communications. And TLS relies on the trustworthiness of certificates, which doesn't always hold.